With all the exciting hype surrounding Valentine's, you probably have some decent gift ideas swirling around, but you're waiting for the perfect one. Well, 1-800-Flowers.com is your answer, because right now when you order early, you can get 12 multicolored roses for only $19.99, or double it to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more. It's an unbelievable offer from 1-800-Flowers. This gorgeous bouquet of multicolored roses is a perfect surprise she's guaranteed to love. And remember, 1-800-Flowers is here for all your upcoming Valentine's needs. A dozen multicolored roses for only $19.99, or an upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for just $10 more. It's an amazing offer. When it comes to life's meaningful moments, choose 1-800-Flowers.com. To order a dozen multicolored roses for $19.99 or upgrade to 24 multicolored roses for only $10 more, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. Again, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the radio icon, and enter code WINGO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com, code WINGO.
Woo! Glad you're with us. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 from the site of Super Bowl 52.
What a great crowd.
In Minneapolis. Look at this crowd here with us at the Hard Rock Cafe in the Mall of America. They got up early. They braved the snow. We're glad they're here. We're glad we're here as we're kicking off our Super Bowl week coverage right now. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And, Mike, for those that were not watching or listening in the first hour, you have already had a wardrobe change.
I have a wardrobe change. I had kind of a long sleeve. It was a light. It wasn't thick. A light kind of a hoodie. And I was sweating profusely. I mean, back in the days when I was about 60 pounds heavier, you would have seen sweat developing in certain areas of my body.
Well, I actually have a story about that.
Oh, you do?
I do. We brought a fan to cool the big guy down. And to his point, Mike, when he was, how do I say this politely, closer to his playing weight.
Yeah.
Might be a way to say
Looked
it.
like I was backed into an air hose.
Also true.
Yeah.
Maybe floating down, Broadway and the Macy's Day Parade.
Okay, a little much.
Maybe just somewhere in between those two.
All right.
We would go and do our shows from Hawaii every year for the Pro Bowl.
Struggle.
Someone had to do it, and sadly we drew the short straw and we had to go to Hawaii. Long story short, but we would do our shows on our set on Waikiki Beach. And we would wear the typical Hawaiian shirts that are silk and very light, but very absorbent would be the word I would use. And Mike was 70 pounds, probably 70 pounds heavier than he was now. And there was some unfortunate sweat lines.
There was man boob sweat.
Yeah, it was just right here.
Yeah.
So what he would do to avoid that, he would take a towel from the hotel, wrap it around his chest, and then put the Hawaiian shirt on. And in between every break, he'd be there fanning himself like this. You saw this courtesy of the Hilton Hotel towel.
I was what we like to call a fleshy mess.
Oh, it was good.
It was not pretty at all.
But you know what? Thankfully, it was content, and it's content we get to bring back today.
That's exactly right.
So we're very excited.
Very excited to be. I'm still always jealous when I come to the Super Bowl. Yeah. The closest I got in my 9 years was the divisional round. 92, the year the Cowboys won.
30-13, the final score in that game.
We beat the Saints in the wild card, and we really thought we were going to come into Dallas and win that one, and again then win in the NFC Championship game, go to the Super Bowl. We didn't. It's the closest I got. So I'm literally jealous every year, and I literally don't go to the game just because I don't want to be around there. I never got a chance to play in it, so I'm usually out of here Saturday night or Sunday morning, and I watch it from my couch. But I'm always jealous of these guys because, this is the ultimate. This is in team sports, man, when you get to that championship, because you got to understand these players are together more than they're with their families for the amount of time they have to be together and study together and bleed together and sweat together. And I can only imagine when that clock hits zero and you win that Super Bowl, the joy of just we did it. All that hard work paid off, and there's only 1 out of 32 teams that can do it. So, and you play for that. And, I've heard obviously from the losing side, there's nothing worse than, my son experienced in a national championship game when Notre Dame lost to Alabama in 2012, when the confetti's coming down on the field and you're not the team it's coming down for, of how bad it could be. But I'll still always say, I would rather go and lose than never go at all, to go at least and have the experience. But now it gets rubbed in my face every year. You know, with Greeny, you come to 18 of these, and you and I are going to start a long line of these.
This is my 20th.
Every year I come here, I get thrown in my face like Terrell Davis and the Dan Marinos, all these Hall of Famers and Super Bowl winners, like TD winning 2 of them, and all that are going to be here just talking about all the great experience. Makes me want to leave the set, quite honestly.
Well, that's good because we got more Hall of Famers coming up. Dan Marino will be here. We'll have Tony Dungy as well at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mall of America time. Adam Thielen of the Vikings.
Look forward to having Adam on,
We had him on before the NFC Championship game, and he promised to be our chaperone and our tour guide for Minneapolis.
Right.
He'll take us through all the skyways.
And to take it all the way back around where this started, I changed out of that long sleeve shirt into a short sleeve. I got a nice Hard Rock Cafe shirt on, but a nice short sleeve, so I feel much more comfortable right now. I'm ready to go.
Well, it really is all about your comfort.
Well,
so we're happy about that.
Of course it is. And I need a donut.
Well, we'll get one of those. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance with more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive knows how small business works. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. All right, lots to get into, and let's start that with what's trending. Is it? Well, this actually is important. Hey, we went to a Super Bowl and a trade broke out.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the most amazing thing. The Redskins agree to trade for Chiefs quarterback Alex Smith. Washington will send a third-round pick, which they'll get back when Kirk Cousins leaves in free agency, as well as cornerback Kendall Fuller to the Chiefs in a deal that can't be made official until the start of the new league year, which is March 14th.
The one thing you want to do is build around the quarterback, obviously the most important position on the field, both offensively and defensively, and they do have to get up a young, promising player at a good year this year at cornerback, so that hurts the defensive side of the ball, and you're trading in for a quarterback who's 5 years older. I think the trust factor of Jay Gruden with Alex Smith as opposed to Kirk Cousins will be more. Alex Smith gives you a little bit more in the running game, and we're seeing quarterbacks with the ability to play until they're a little bit older. We'll see if Alex Smith has that. But Alex he's become the greatest at reading the writing on the wall, given what happened in San Francisco with Kaepernick, and now everybody saw this one coming in Kansas City with Pat Mahomes. It's still so wild to me that you're just handing the reins. They must have so much confidence in Mahomes on what they believe he can do for that team. So we will see. And I just really think it was more about the relationship in Washington with Kirk Cousins and the Redskins rather than the actual play on the field. Because the play on the field, Cousins was playing pretty darn well.
He was. In fact, they just put up a great graphic on the TV side. Over the last 3 years, Kirk Cousins has completed 7.8 yards per attempt, or 7.8 yards per pass play or per attempt. Smith was 7.5. They both completed 67% of their throws. Total QBR out of 100 the last 3 seasons combined. Cousins 62, Smith 61.
Yeah.
So really, you're getting the same guy, just an older version.
Right.
Which is an interesting one because it does point out that really it was about it never going to work with Washington and Kirk Cousins for a variety of reasons. One, they weren't sure about him, and then he went out there lights out for 3 years. And he wasn't sure about them and the commitment. So what does this mean really going forward for Kirk Cousins now? Well, here's our insider Adam Schefter on that.
Now Kirk Cousins is free to leave Washington. He's not going to be tagged. He's going to hit the open market. There are enough teams out there that have a quarterback need. Minnesota, Denver, Buffalo, Cleveland, Jacksonville, the Jets. There are any number of suitors for Kirk Cousins, who is freed from Washington. They had had no conversation since the season ended. The Redskins did not intend to tag him. Kirk Cousins now free.
Okay, first of all, how big of a shock was this that it happened Super Bowl week? Adam Schefter had no plans on going on TV last night.
Yeah.
He looked like a woolly mammoth.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. By the way, Adam is one of those guys that has to shave like 5 times a day or he becomes Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And he was like halfway through the transformation when they said, Adam, we need you to go on TV and talk about it, because he had not shaved in about 6 hours and he could have been the Sasquatch.
He could have been. So it really becomes interesting for Cousins now. Where does he go? Because how it could affect, especially the top of the draft, with the possibility of 5 quarterbacks going in the first round. Do the Cleveland Browns think about him? You know, we had Joe Thomas there, all-everything left tackle, on set with us, saying that he talked to the GM there, the new GM, John Dorsey. He does not like to play rookie quarterback. So do they draft a rookie quarterback and then get some veteran to bridge that if they're completely giving up on Deshaun Kaiser, or do they go the route of a Kirk Cousins and sign the veteran and give him the money and say, okay, this is the guy, the 29-year-old we're going to build around? So that would affect, obviously, the first pick of the draft from a quarterback situation. How about Denver, who has the 5th pick in the draft? Obviously, they're looking for a quarterback. The Paxton Lynch experiment is done and gone and over with, and they're going to try and establish a new quarterback. Would Cousins be a guy there? Now you have that established quarterback that affects the 5th pick in the draft. So, and then you start listing teams. Is it the Jets? Do they finally grab a veteran instead of trying to get these rookies that they don't even trust to put on the field? Is it Arizona who's turning the page, obviously, from Carson Palmer and close to turning the page to a Larry Fitzgerald? Do they start over with a Kirk Cousins? So he's going to have options out there. It seems one of the options not going to happen, though, is Jacksonville.
Yeah.
With the whole Blake Bortles operation situation now, and they can't get rid of him. They owe him $19 million. Now, from that situation, it's tough not to think that Bortles isn't going to be the quarterback in Jacksonville next year.
Well, look, I think the best way to sum up what this trade means more than anything else is that it is the biggest name in their prime in a quarterback in the NFL that has ever hit free agency.
Free agency, right?
Now, look, we had Peyton Manning a few years ago, but nobody knew what Peyton Manning was going to be at that point. He's coming off the neck fusion surgery, and I think it made all the sense for the Colts with Andrew Luck being there as the number 1 pick and them having that pick to part ways with Peyton. Now, Peyton went on to rewrite the record books in Denver.
Did.
His 4 years in Denver might have been good enough for a Hall of Fame career. Yeah. Just what he did in Denver, let alone Indianapolis. But Peyton was 36, I believe, at that time, or 30. He was well past his prime, and there were questions. Kirk Cousins is 29 years old. He's coming off seasons where he's rewritten the Washington Redskins record book 3 years running. We have never had a quarterback in their prime hit free agency like this. It has never happened. It may never happen again.
Right.
And you mentioned some of the other names. We've talked about this a lot, not only on this show but on NFL Live, is that this free agency, which starts March 14th, there will be more quarterbacks in play than we've ever had before. Alex Smith was in play. He's not. Jimmy Garoppolo, by the way, it's his choice. They could franchise tag him in San Francisco. He is a free agent.
Yeah, I think he's getting paid there, though.
He will get paid there. Yeah. But, we have so many options that are available to us and so many teams. You mentioned Denver. They do have the 5th overall pick. Yeah. But they've already done this a couple years ago with Paxton Lynch, and that didn't work. They brought back Brock Osweiler. That didn't work. By the way, Denver stopped drafting 6'8" quarterbacks. Okay, let's do that. Yeah. They're great power forwards.
Right.
They're not really good at playing quarterback. So you have an aging defense in Denver. They've got maybe 3 years at a maximum where you have all those guys together and that can play at a high level again. Do you really want to go through developing a young quarterback?
Right.
If you want to try and win it all, don't you have to get a veteran guy in there? And in that sense, wouldn't Kirk Cousins make the perfect sense?
Yeah, he would.
Because he wants to go where he can win. It's not about – he's going to get paid almost anywhere. He wants to win.
I agree. And one of the teams brought up in this article as well was the Minnesota Vikings. All 3 of their quarterbacks are available. Are
they
free,
are.
Right?
They're all on expiring contracts. All 3 of them.
I don't think that's going to happen with Cousins. I think they're going to settle on a couple of quarterbacks here, whether it's they keep Case Keenum, whether it's Teddy Bridgewater again. Again, me personally, Sam Bradford. It's tough for me, not Sam Bradford the player. I just don't trust Sam Bradford the body anymore. Yeah. That when he's missing games because not from getting hit, just from the wear and tear in the knee. I just don't trust the fact of saying that guy can be my quarterback. So
totally
to me, it would be either Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater.
My best guess for the Vikings is that they'll put a transition tag on Case Keenum as a placeholder, see if they can work out a long-term deal with Bridgewater, and then maybe they bring Case back and have them compete, or see what Case Keenum might be on the open market. Because, look, he played at a very high level as well.
Yes, he did.
And he had a couple of turnovers in the NFC Championship game. One of those, his arm was hit. That I don't blame that on the quarterback.
Right.
But he played really, really well. It's going to be a remarkable situation in free agency in the quarterbacks. And it's already started Super Bowl week, which is really bizarre. Yep. Not only did they agree to the trade, which can't be, as you said, made complete until March 14th, but they've also worked out a contract, about $70 million in guaranteed money over a 4-year extension.
That's nice, too.
With Alex Smith. Okay, so that's one thing that's trending. Here's what else is trending. And it's trending in the wrong way for your hometown team, Mike. Cavaliers' Kevin Love now expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks after breaking a hand, and talking about adding injury to insult, in a loss to the Pistons, who had lost 8 straight games.
Yeah, they did. And Blake Griffin's still not playing for him yet. Andre Drummond went off in this one. I think, 21 points, 20 rebounds right in that area there. He just got added to the East All-Stars, though. So Kevin Love, again, out 6 to 8. So, listen, I think we're all sure of where he is in the rotation, even if Tristan Thompson comes in and that moves him back out to the forward and not play the middle. I'm not worried. Let me put it this way. I'm not worried about Kevin Love missing time. And it seems that it's an injury that's going to heal up fine and to come back and do what he has to do. There's a lot of other players, even though everybody pointed the finger at Kevin Love in that one meeting. There's a lot of players I worry about before I worry about Kevin Love for the Cleveland Cavaliers, quite honestly, in that rotation of what Ty Lue wants to do. So, it's time for the others to kind of get in a rotation, do what they need to do, and see where it's going to go. But I think Kevin Love will come back, and Kevin Love will be just fine. But this is a team that's hurting right now, and I keep saying, they're still going to be there. They're still going to be there at the end. It's still got LeBron James. Man, with each game that goes on, I really, really question that.
Well, absolutely. Look, Cleveland hosts Miami on the second night of back-to-back games tonight. Miami is 10-4 in the month of January, just a half game back of the Cavs for the number 3 spot in the East. Ty Lue said, when it rains, it pours. That's what Ty Lue said. Here's what LeBron had to say.
It's a huge blow for our team, obviously. Anytime you lose an all-star or you lose anybody, any part of your crew, it's a tough blow. We already limited in our bigs anyway, so we even get a lot smaller now. So at the end of the day, we hope for a speedy recovery for Kev and get back on the floor as soon as he can. But it's a tough blow for us. It sucks big time. There's nothing you can do about it. Obviously, it's injuries is a part of the game. Obviously, with everything that's been going on as of late, with our ball coach is trying to figure out, how we're gonna play every night, our different lineups, and getting everybody into the flow. When you have Kev go out like that, he's gonna be out for quite a while, maybe 2 months. It's just tough.
It is non-shooting hand, left hand. But yeah, from the rotation side, I get it. But I'll say, I don't worry much about Love when he comes back. I think I worry more about the guys that are playing now getting into some kind of rhythm before the playoffs.
Well, there's been all kinds of worry about anything with the rhythm. Look, they just had 2 games put together, back-to-back wins after that horrible, 3-10 stretch. So you thought like maybe there was a glimpse of good news. It feels like this entire season, outside of that stretch, where they won 18 and 19 games in November and December. It seems like this entire season for Cleveland has just been sort of like water in the gas tank. It just stops, and you can't get anything
going. And we
keep
waiting for the playoffs, flip the switch, but it just seems like that switch might get stuck more this year than any other year.
It seems like that switch gets farther and farther away
Can't
with
reach
every
it.
game they played. Yeah. And by the way, we're not trying to pick on Cleveland, but Mary Kay Cabot, the fine reporter for Cleveland.com, says, just throwing this in now, the Browns apparently tried to trade for Chiefs quarterback Alex Smith, but he's going to the Redskins instead. So,
really, again, the connection there. John Dorsey was in Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Alex Smith there, yeah.
He's their new GM. But that's the second time they've tried. Remember they tried to make the trade for A.J. McCarron at the deadline?
Did. Yeah, they did.
And the report was they were so busy celebrating that they got the deal done, they didn't tell the league office in time.
Yeah, now again, we don't think that story is true. My town gets dumped on enough.
We're not dumping on the town. We're talking about the front office of the Browns, which has been, ridiculous.
Suspect. Yes,
it's been suspect.
That's
and
true.
Hopefully John Dorsey can get that turned around. But that's like the most Browns thing ever, is that once again they tried to get the quarterback and they couldn't.
What also tells me they're probably going to get a veteran in there as well. And again, they have 2 draft picks, the first pick and the 4th pick. So if they take care of the quarterback situation with a veteran that they feel they can trust, then boy, that pick, if you want to deal it, or becomes a lot of gold for sure, or at least 2 you hope quality players.
Well, you also have to believe they would have given up more than just a second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. When he was made available at the trade deadline. But again, that was the weird part about that.
It was.
Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't even shopped. Basically, according to the Seth Wickersham article, Bill Belichick, one text, hey, you want him? Second-round pick.
Here you go.
It wasn't like we're putting him out there, which makes the whole thing really interesting.
Yes, it does.
And we'll see what happens after the Super Bowl, which will be here Sunday in Minneapolis. All right, so those are 2 topics, first and foremost, in What's Trending. And we have one more. James Harden is kind of a big deal, and people know him. 60-point triple-double, the first one in NBA history, Mike.
It's incredible. 60 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, because normally someone scoring 60, they're not giving the ball up a lot.
No.
He not only did that, he had more assists than everybody else on the team. Everybody else had 6 assists. He had 11. 60 points, everybody else had 54. So, listen, he is a monster player, and you always look at the stats of he and Chris Paul when they're on separate from each other, how well that team is doing. As I said, a lot of people think that about maybe LeBron and Isaiah Thomas. That might be the route there. But listen, Chris Paul, what he brings, and James Harden, what he brings, can they? So that becomes the question, right? Can anybody compete with Golden State?
That is the only question.
Listen, there's no doubt they're going to be a heavy favorite in any series they're in. And you just saw they had a good game with the Boston Celtics did Golden State. A lot of people think that might be a preview to the championship game. I still don't think Houston has enough in a 7-game series to win that series, but boy, they are fun to watch because we know their story. We know they want to throw up threes left and right.
They do. The question for for Houston more than anything else, and I think James Harden has done a better job of this year, is are they willing to go the extra mile on the defensive
right?
end? Because, we all love the three-pointers, and they're great, and clearly it's worked for Golden State, but they have to work harder for them in the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. And so if anybody's going to try and find a way to slow down Golden State, will they work hard enough on the defensive side? And that has been the bugaboo for the Houston Rockets for the last couple of years. By the way, again, Chris Paul was out last night with a sore right groin, but it is fascinating. I mean, the first 60-point triple-double in NBA history. I thought your son brought up a great point. He was the first one that actually decided to share.
Yeah, share the ball.
Right? Because
exactly
normally when you're playing that well, feed me,
right.
feed me,
yeah.
feed me, feed me, and oh, by the way, feed me.
Yeah.
He was also feeding other people, so he did a great job there. Golic and Wingo, by the way, on the road with you at the Hard Rock Cafe here at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, presented by Progressive Insurance. We will be here all the rest of this week leading up to Super Bowl 52. And, Mike, you're about to be depressed again.
Yes, I am.
I'm just telling you right now.
Good friend of mine, former teammate of mine, but still.
But it's going to bring you down.
Yeah,
he's going to make you a doggy downer.
Yeah.
Coming up, one of the best quarterbacks of all time and a former teammate that will make Mike depressed, so we'll turn the fan on extra high.
Thank you.
So he won't be too upset. Will join us. That is Dan Marino. We roll on with you and Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We are here at the Hard Rock Cafe in the Mall of America as we kick off our coverage all week long leading up to Super Bowl 52. And we've got a cavalcade of guests that will continue to depress you.
Yeah.
Just so you know. The next one is a guy who was your teammate, and he's still going to depress you.
Well, not as much because no, not him so much because we're in the same boat.
It's all about him.
We're in the same boat. We always bring in these Super Bowl champion players, and
you and I didn't.
Yeah,
win.
we didn't.
But
you win one.
You got there.
Yes,
but you got there.
Yeah,
Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Marino joins us on set.
Everybody, how you doing?
Giving us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contract.
If you're not going to win a Super Bowl, just make the Hall of Fame then.
That's right. like I said, he is going to depress you. I tried to tell you up front, and you did not want to do it. Dan, of course, a 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL MVP in 1984, the Walter Payton Man of the Year in 1998. Here on behalf of Nutrisystem, we'll get into that in a minute. But, lives are changed on Super Bowl Sunday, and we might have a life changed by a backup quarterback named Nick Foles. And, Dan, when you saw what he was able to do in the NFC Championship game against the number one ranked defense, what went through your mind?
Well, I mean, the one thing is you feel good for the kid because he hasn't had a lot of opportunities, and he gets this opportunity now, and Wentz got hurt, and he's taking advantage of that. It felt good for him. I mean, and Doug Peterson and the Philadelphia Eagles, just because they hadn't been there in a while, and the way the kid played, and if he can play the way he played in the championship game, they got a real good shot to win.
And it is always interesting when you have to then rely on the backup. I was actually my last year was with Dan in Miami, and we fell into that situation.
Yeah, that's when I tore my
Dan
Achilles.
tore his Achilles.
We had a really good team.
We did. At one point, we had the best record in the league at 9-2, and then we lost the last 5. And not surprisingly, when Dan was out and didn't even make the playoffs. So it can go either way. Sometimes the backup comes in and, wow, they make a name for themselves.
That was Scott Mitchell.
It was Scott Mitchell. He ended up signing with Detroit for some very, very good money. But that's when, the backup came in, and it didn't work so well in this case.
And actually, was it that year, too, where Doug Peterson he won the game in
Doug
Philly.
Peterson was there,
In Philly, it was Coach Schuler's.
That was his. That was the record.
That's
exactly
right.
It's crazy how that just came up.
Right.
I forgot about that.
It is pretty wild, that's for sure. And then the other side of it is a guy in Tom Brady who, I mean, talk about the ultimate for the Super Bowl. Been there, done that. I mean, it's. You can't ask anybody else, what's it feel like, this many times you've gone there, because people don't get there that many times. But I'd imagine if anybody else knows the rhythm of how the week and 2 weeks work, it's got to be him.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, what is this now? 8.
It's his eighth
Yeah, so
Super Bowl
that's the one thing is the Patriots know. They've been through it. They know the whole atmosphere, what they got to do, how to prepare for the 2 weeks, and and Belichick the same way. So that's kind of the advantage they have in the fact that, Tom Brady's already won it so many times, and it's amazing what he's been able to do in his career. I mean, it's, just hats off to him.
He's going one for the other thumb, which is ridiculous.
Pretty nice.
He's already got 5. He and Charles Haley, the only players with 5. He's going for 6. The Super Bowl has always been the biggest sporting event on the calendar here in the United States. But it has become so much bigger than when I was watching it, when you guys were playing. I mean, how much do you think the Super Bowl, Dan, has changed from the way it's perceived, the way it's presented, the way it's covered, the way it's telecast from when you appeared in your Super Bowl after the 83 season? 84
a
season.
ton. It's amazing just to see that all the we didn't have you didn't have these kind of shows, your shows, all those things, before the week. I mean, so it's changed a bunch, but it's still playing football, so that's not going to change. And but it's fun to come up here, be here all week, and do all the things you do for the Super Bowl, preparing for it and having fun with it. But it has, it's changed a lot as far as just the media perception and everything about it.
And from a player side, again, I never got there. Farthest was the division around, so I, again, don't know the answer to this. But the talk is always, man, you have to cherish it because you never know when you're going to get back. Yeah. Well, you got there at such a young
second year
in your career. What was did you think, we'll be back, or did you already have that thought?
Just no doubt. I mean, I like after the game, I remember we're going to be back next year and the year after, because we had a fairly good young core on offense, and defensively probably getting a little older. So, and it just didn't work out that way. So you think you're going to be there every year, and I was in a couple other AFC Championship games, and we didn't win those either. So that's the one thing I always talk about is I've done pretty much everything you could do as a quarterback in the NFL, but except walk off the field the last Sunday, the season, and say that I was a winner. And that's the one thing, and it's not a regret. It's just facts.
It's a fact,
it's
right?
Facts.
Well, actually, that reminds me of a great story that someone once told me about that. I at one point did some work with Jimmy Cephalo.
Yeah, Jimmy
who was a receiver, and when you guys went and lost at Super Bowl 19, he was a veteran, and I think you guys rode back to the hotel together.
Right.
And Jimmy was all depressed, and he's like, "I can't believe we lost this game. I've been in the league 10 years."
And he was in 2 years before that. He ran a kickoff back for a touchdown against the Redskins.
So he was like, "This is going to happen again, unbelievable." And he told me he got in the back of the car with you, and you're back there and you're all smiles, and you're like, "Boy, did we get the crap beat out of us or what?" Because you were like, "I'll come back." And,
I'll be back again.
You were 23.
I was 23 years old. Yeah, so I'm like, there's no doubt I'm back in this game.
I'll never forget that story.
I remember saying, we got our butts kicked.
Got our butts kicked, and he's like, "Oh man, you were all smiles." You're like, "You don't understand.
The
this
difference
may be
between
the only chance."
Young in the league and older in the league.
Jimmy was probably in his 10th year or something.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny because as soon as you said that, that's the first thing I saw of that story you told me once.
The quarterback play. It seems like today that teams are kind of embracing the college system a little bit by not taking a quarterback and saying, "Okay, you now have to fit into our system." It's like, okay, we have a system, but we're going to kind of massage it so we can use some of your attributes from college.
I think there's no doubt that as far as coaching is concerned, is you want to coach to the athlete, and what type of players, what he does best, and they have all the run pass options now that quarterbacks are using because they use it in college, and that's just being smart, I think, and I do think that there's a few. The way the league is trending, you got to have a guy that actually can run around and move and make plays with his feet and run for first downs, and because there's very few like Tom can just stand back there and make throws and just win games. So I think that's a trend that's going to continue to go throughout the NFL.
Dan Marino with us here at the Hard Rock Cafe in Mall of America, and that leads us to the big thing that happened this week already, the trade. Because Alex Smith is now going to be the new coach, the new quarterback of the Washington Redskins, and Kirk Cousins is going to hit the free agent market. A quarterback we've never seen his level before, really in his prime at 29. hit the free agent market. Now, you mentioned running around with your legs. That's one thing that Alex does sneakily well.
Yeah, he does.
A lot of people don't give him a lot of credit for
there's
it.
no doubt.
It's really interesting, Dan, because we put up the numbers over the last 3 years. They've essentially been the same quarterback, yet somehow Washington wasn't satisfied with Kirk, and for whatever reason, Kansas City wasn't satisfied with Alex.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, because they're both solid starters in the league, and they're going to win games for you. And I guess it's just the philosophy, and then also it comes down to who you're going to pay. Really, that's it. Who do you feel comfortable paying? Because they are making some good money.
I was just going to say, you never want to be, want to be the old guy on the porch.
God bless them, man. It's great.
It's unreal, isn't it?
It's great. Yeah.
I remember when you got your big contract extension for it was like $20 million. In the 90s, we were like, whoa! Now that's like a signing bonus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, his new contract, Alex Smith just got, is $71 million guaranteed.
$71 million.
$71 million guaranteed.
When I signed, it was the first year of free agency. When I signed with Miami, I got a $50,000 signing bonus, and I thought, man, I was king of the world.
Yeah, right.
These guys are finding that in their sofa.
You can't buy a car with that.
I know, man. It's unbelievable.
It's funny.
I mean, it is dramatically changed. Okay, so as you look at this matchup, Dan, obviously we had the experience versus the underdogs that the Eagles have embraced with the dog mask. It's been great. They really represent Philly well because Philly always has that chip on their shoulder, and they're like, we got a chip on our shoulder too. I want you to try and knock it off. What do you see as the most critical part of this matchup on Sunday?
Well, we say it all the time. I mean, that's is getting in Tom Brady's face and making him disrupt his timing, and it's so hard to do because he gets rid of the ball so fast.
Right.
And they know what they protect. They spread everybody out. They got quick guys on the inside. Their slots. They move around well and quick, and so disrupting him really is the main thing for them defensively. I think they can do it defensively. Philly's been pretty good.
Yeah, they have.
And they can get after the passer. So that's really And then the other thing is offensively being able to run the ball and keep Tom on the sideline. So it's always and you'll hear that from everybody. I mean, that's it. If he's standing over there watching, he's not throwing touchdowns. So, that's what you got to do to him.
It's not right. When you sit there and break it down, and yet nobody can do it because I think one of the biggest things they fail at, Dan, is adjusting to the adjustments. Right. You see how they adjusted to Jacksonville when they were behind, and it didn't seem like Jacksonville adjusted back. That you need to be able to adjust, and that's the one big difference of the Philly offense. They'll attack. They didn't sit on the ball at the end of the first half. They were going for it where Jacksonville kind of did because I didn't think they trusted Blake Bortles. So it's almost like New England's going to adjust. So how do we adjust back to them?
And you got to be able to match them.
Right.
If they go down and score, you got to go down and score. I mean, it's just part of it. You can't let him have extra possessions.
And one other thing is again, I always hear about this game is
so I'm told.
The sooner
you got to get over that, Mike.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
thank you.
I retired in '93, and I'm still complaining about it. I haven't gotten over it. Is how quickly you can make it just another football game. How quickly were you able to do that? How quickly and everybody's different, where you start the game and now it's just a game again?
Yeah, I think it happens at first. It's not, because of the build-up and everything.
Right.
And I think the excitement about it, and I mean, if you could ask anybody who's played in the game, I'm sure there's always that adrenaline. But then once you start, playing and then as the game goes on, it all depends if it gets tight. Like last year, I'm sure that Matt Ryan and the Falcons start feeling that pressure, like, they're coming back.
Right.
So it's, in some ways, it's just a game, but then for sure, I mean, the impact that it has if you're able to win it or lose it in their case.
Well, the hardest part is with the Patriots, though, it's just finishing them. You mentioned it. The Falcons were up 28-3.
Yeah.
And they couldn't. You got to sweep the leg.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, you do.
The Jaguars were up 10 points and gave up a 3rd and 18. That turned the entire game around in the fourth quarter. If you're going to beat these Patriots, you better go start to finish, pedal to the metal, because if you give them an ounce, they'll crush your soul in the worst way imaginable.
And you got to be able to score 30.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Marino with us. You're here courtesy of Nutrisystem. We got something planned for guys after Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, well, Monday's the big decision day for men and their dieting. And Mike and I did a commercial. It's probably been 10 years ago now, right? Or more, or maybe 12 years. I don't know. But it's the big decision day for men, and we call it Super Bowl Monday. For men's dieting, and it's you go to Nutrisystem.com and you can look that up, and they have a new program where Nutra shakes, and the shakes are really good, and I've been using them and just lose some weight. That's it.
You look great. I mean, listen,
you look fantastic.
At the end of the day, pro athletes at the end of the day either go up or down.
Yeah.
Rarely do they stay where they are, and you certainly been able to. Yeah.
And then most guys, the other thing is most guys during the play, they don't want to die. Like women will die, after New Year, like that New Year's resolution.
We got to get through football.
Men got to get through football, and then they go on to die. That's why it's Super Monday.
I like the snack. This has some sort of chocolate in it, doesn't it?
It
looks really good. Thank you.
He was preferring the donut flavored one, but that'll work.
Crisp bar. I'm going to do this. This works for me.
Hall of Fame quarterback Dan Marino.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well done. Back with you on Golic and Wingo here from the Hard Rock Cafe at the Mall of America on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're glad you're with us as we're getting closer and closer to Super Bowl 52. We're here for the next 3 days, and obviously, Mike, from a game plan perspective, the biggest question, I think, for either team is, will Rob Gronkowski be able to play? Right. Tight end suffered the concussion in the first half of the AFC Championship game and has been in the concussion protocol. Now, he did practice last week.
Right, which means he's getting to the end of the protocol.
Because the last step in the protocol is you must complete exertion without any symptoms. So we took that as a very good sign that he might be there. But still, it hasn't been publicly announced that he will be willing to play. Well, our Josina Anderson was at Gronk yesterday and asked him about whether or not he is going to be on the field and where he is in the protocol.
Are you out of concussion protocol?
Hopefully by tomorrow. I mean, we'll see how it goes and what the doctors say. I mean, I'm not the guy to say, I'm out of the protocol. That's the doctor's calls. And hopefully that it's very, very soon.
But do you think you'll play, Gronk? Do you think you'll play on Sunday?
Do
you think you'll play on Sunday?
Yes.
You think you'll play?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Josina just putting it right out there.
Do you think you'll play?
Do you think you'll play?
Answer me now. Do you think you'll play?
So, and why he thinks, that was yesterday, so today he'll be cleared is because just what Trey said is part of the process. The last part is exertion, and then how do you feel after that? Where are you after that? And again, the best part of all of this is just what he said. It's not my choice. Yeah. It's not Bill Belichick's choice. It's the doctor's choices. And that's where we need to be with the head injuries, from on the field to if you're taken off the field to when you get to come back on the field. I completely think he'll be cleared, if not today, then tomorrow. It sounds like it'll be today with the way it's been going, and he'll be on the field. And then you're right, Trey. I mean, that's the matchup. Who matches up with them? How much help do they get? How many times is he singled? Where does the help come from when you're going to double him? Because we saw in that AFC Championship game, that first half before it went out, man, Brady was trying to get the ball to him.
Right.
And then it went to Amendola in the second half. But that's the thing about them, is they won the Super Bowl without Gronk last year. He missed his time, and they still produce well. They come back from 10 points down against Jacksonville without Gronk. So they can do it without him, and he's still the biggest mismatch there is in all of football. So what a weapon to have and for this Eagles defense to try and have to defend.
Well, and by the way, again, tip of the cap to Josina. I mean, she gets in there, and when she wants an answer, she gets an answer. SportsCenter brought to you by Sport Clips. Do your hair a favor by checking it online and arriving just in time for your Sports Clip MVP haircut experience while you surround yourself with sports on TV. Great cut, massaging shampoo, and a hot steam towel. Claim your spot today, sportclips.com/check-in. And again, Josina is a bulldog.
Yeah,
the interview she did with Everson Griffin of the Vikings after the touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs, one of the classics. She said, "What are you feeling?" And he said, "I was sad, and now I'm happy.
Now I'm happy, yeah.
And I don't know what to say."
Good.
It was great. And she got in there and made sure she nailed down that Gronk thinks he's going to play.
And I do think he's going to play, so what do? You get Tom Brady again. Like Dan said, and everybody says, get him off his mark, and that's where Fletcher Cox comes into play, that inside push. But he's going to see more than one blocker from that New England offensive line.
At the end of the day, no matter how good you are at quarterback, they all hate the same thing. Pressure right up the gut. Yep. You know who does pressure very well?
Who's that?
Sal Paolantonio. He'll join us on the next hour, as well as Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy. Stay with us.